Hey everyone, welcome to the Facts on JW. I'm Anthony, and today we're going to be taking a look at the July 2025 JW broadcasting. Man, is this thing loaded with coercive persuasion. It is absolute panic mode for Watchtower. They're trying to lock down the members they have left and increase their loyalty to Jehovah's organization. Not to God, not to Jesus Christ, but to the governing body and to the organization. Because we all know when they say Jehovah, they mean the organization. So we're going to do this, and you guys are going to really see a different side of them. I want you to count how many times you hear faithful or faithfulness, how many verses are quoted out of context, and how many they use in this video is insane. You know, you can take one verse and make it seem like anything. So they do it a lot. So enjoy, grab some popcorn, and here we go.
And welcome to JW Broadcasting. This month, we'll learn what it means to be faithful and how to make it our way of life. How can we remain faithful while enduring severe tests? Maria Fernanda, Matias, and Esteban each faced intense trials. They'll share how they found peace and comfort. Do you sometimes hesitate to offer a Bible study? This episode of Iron Sharpens Iron offers practical suggestions that will boost your confidence. And our new music video encourages young people to stay faithful and on the right path in life. This is JW Broadcasting. Old Faithful is the name of a geyser in Yellowstone National Park in the United States. The geyser was given this name because of the relative regularity of its eruptions. Today, it erupts thousands of liters or gallons of boiling water about every 90 minutes on average. After Old Faithful erupts, the timing of its next eruption can be predicted about 90% of the time within a 10-minute variation. And it's not even the most regular geyser in the park. Isn't that amazing? It shouldn't surprise us that the word faithful is applied to inanimate things, since we see faithfulness and dependability in creation. For example, Psalm 89:37 describes the moon as a faithful witness in the skies because of its reliability. Its appearance in the sky follows a fixed pattern, and it faithfully completes its orbit around the Earth every 27.3 days. While we admire faithfulness in creation, we especially appreciate people who make faithfulness their way of life. Such individuals are reliable, dependable, and trustworthy. Let's read about this quality of faithfulness at 1 Corinthians 4:2. In this regard, what is expected of stewards is that they be found faithful. The term steward can mean house manager. His work could include caring for his master's business, property, and other servants. That's a lot of responsibility. But think of this. A steward might have many fine qualities and abilities, yet none of them would matter if he was irresponsible, disloyal, and unfaithful to his master. Faithfulness is essential to be an effective and successful steward. As true Christians, we must prove ourselves faithful and trustworthy. How does Jehovah feel about faithfulness? The same way as King David did, who wrote at Psalm 101:6, "I will look to the faithful ones of the earth, so that they may dwell with me." Using a similar expression, the prophet Jeremiah wrote the words found in Jeremiah 5:3. "O Jehovah, do your eyes not look for faithfulness?" And Psalm 37:3 encourages us to reside in the earth and act with faithfulness. So the theme of this month's broadcast is, make faithfulness your way of life. We'll examine 2 examples of faithfulness, and then we'll consider some practical ways that we can prove ourselves faithful. We began our discussion by talking about the example of a geyser. A geyser might be a fitting symbol of the faithfulness of humans, because geysers continually erupt, but they do so unpredictably. So a geyser would be a poor representation of the unchanging faithfulness of our faithful Creator, as Jehovah is described at 1 Peter 4:19. The ever-present sun and moon are more appropriate symbols of the unchangeableness of His faithfulness. In his words to the nation of Israel, Moses stated, as found at Deuteronomy 32:4, "The rock, perfect is His activity, for all His ways are justice. A God of faithfulness, who is never unjust." Did Jehovah prove faithful to that nation? Of course He did. When Moses spoke those words to the Israelites, they may have remembered the time when Jehovah had faithfully brought their forefathers out of Egypt and rescued them at the Red Sea. He had faithfully preserved millions of people alive during the Israelites' 40-year journey in the wilderness, and He had led them to the border of the Promised Land. Moses' successor Joshua also could testify to Jehovah's faithfulness. As a child growing up in Egypt, Joshua must have come to know of Jehovah's promise to give the Israelites a land of their own. When the time came to enter that land, Joshua was an eyewitness of how Jehovah fought in behalf of His people. Joshua saw the walls of Jericho fall down flat. He saw the sun stand still until the Amorites could be routed. In time, one nation after another was defeated because the faithful God was fighting for Israel. Once they defeated their enemies, Joshua could say to the nation what is recorded at Joshua 23:14. "You well know with all your heart and with all your soul that not one word out of all the good promises that Jehovah your God has spoken to you has failed. They have all come true for you. Not one word of them has failed." Not one word. Joshua had seen that Jehovah faithfully kept His promises. Well, you can probably think of many other examples of Jehovah's faithfulness, such as the fulfillment of messianic prophecies, the fulfillment of the promise to feed God's people spiritually in our day by means of the faithful and discreet slave, and so on.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anthony, and today we're going to be talking about the July 2025 Watchtower broadcasting. And man, is this thing full of insanity. This proves that they're running scared, running in fear. And they use the word faith, just to give you a crazy idea of what's actually happening here. They use the word faithfulness, like 37 or 38 times in the first 6.5 minutes of this video. Okay? They show cherry-picked scriptures that have nothing to do with the message that they're trying to tell. Like always, they cherry-pick some scriptures, take it from a chapter that has nothing to do with what they're saying. Because if you go back and read the chapter that scripture comes from, it's totally different than the message they're giving. It's hilarious. They love to pick, one verse and say this means something totally different. Typical cult, ideology, cult doctrine. Cults do that quite often. So anyway, they pick a bunch of cherry-pick scripture. They say faithful and faithfulness multiple times. And then all of a sudden, out of left field, they talk about the messianic promise of the faithful and discreet slave feeding you spiritual food. Okay, so let's get this straight. They openly admit they're uninspired and fallible. So if you're uninspired and fallible, that means you have no clue really what the heck you're talking about. That means you're just putting some stuff down and hope it sticks on the wall. Because you're not inspired and you're not fallible. But they're telling the membership that Jehovah God and Jesus trust us. Don't you? I mean, the faithful and discreet slave have been given to us to feed us spiritual food at the proper time. We must obey the faithful and discreet slave. Okay, so wait a minute. They say you must obey the faithful and discreet slave, that they're a gift from Jehovah God and Jesus Christ, that Jesus Christ appointed them to be the ones that feed spiritual food. This is insanity. If that was the case, they would be inspired and infallible. These people are nuts. And in order to believe this, you got to run really far out in left field to swallow this one's insanity. But it's really neat what they're doing because they see the writing on the wall. Because stop and think about this. The CSA cases for the Jehovah's Witnesses, Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania, and Watchtower Bible Tract Society of New York, and all of the other couple of hundred or thousand umbrella corporations they have underneath them, know that their days are numbered. The Catholic Church spent out over $5 billion in just a few years over CSA cases. Jehovah's Witnesses have more cases against them than the Catholic Church, and they have way less members. Catholic Church has about 1 billion members worldwide. Jehovah's Witnesses claim, which is, you have to really believe that there's a tooth fairy to believe this, but they claim they have almost 9 million members. And that's funny because if you go into any Kingdom Hall, and I've done this myself, so I know, any Kingdom Hall, you'll see the membership is in half, if not less than half. The majority of young people are gone. There's a few, but the majority are not there anymore. It's mostly old people holding on to those old memories of Watchtower and that have grew up in this from their childhood and have swallowed the pill. And they are blindly following whatever Watchtower says. That's what you see today. Go to the conventions, which recently did this. We're going to be posting some pictures and stuff soon. We're actually going to go back again. So you'll be able to see that the conventions are half of what they were. They used to be massively big. And we're even going to go on the drama, the Sunday day for the drama, which is usually the bigger turnout. And just to see if it's going to be any different. So it's sad to see that. It's not really sad. It's actually a good thing to see. But the sad part is to see these people holding on to the hope and refusing to admit what they're seeing around them, that the membership's fallen off, the convention attendance has fallen off. You know, the only thing that's still up is memorial attendance to some extent. But I don't know if that's just people feeling obligated that they have to go and just go to the memorial so they can get out of there and say, all right, I went, Mom and Dad. You know, yeah, it's insanity. But what they're doing with this video and the last several, including the Pure Worship convention, is they're trying to lock down the members they have into blindly following and not looking outside of Watchtower and faithful to the faithful and discreet slave. Listen to the faithful, discreet slave. Follow the faithful, discreet slave. Even though they're uninspired and fallible, makes no sense to me. But at the same time, when people talk, they're like, oh yeah, but Jehovah God appointed them. You can't have it both ways. So, you know, this video is the enforce that faithfulness to the watchtower, that faithfulness to continue looking at their publications and believing it. Regardless if they get it wrong, they don't owe you an apology. And it's kind of funny, 90% of the time it's wrong, they change it. Just like Brumley, this month was in Watchtower, wrote his own article, and at the same time, he loses his appeal in federal court, and he has to pay out the $154,000, I think, and some change. Which hopefully Watchtower paid that for him, but I don't know. They most likely made him pay it because he lied in court, which is a thing that they do. They call it theocratic war strategy or theocratic warfare. You can go to jw.org, type those words in, and hundreds of articles pop up. So all the way back to the 50s. But anyway, they justify lying. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. So they lie in court quite often because they feel like if you're not a witness, you don't deserve the truth. A witness in good standing. You're not worthy of the truth. You don't deserve it. Only witnesses in good standing. So, but then if you ask any one of Jehovah's Witnesses, do you think you're going to make it to paradise earth? Look how many will say, I'm not sure. I hope to. No matter how many doors you knock, how many watchtowers you've placed or awakes at the time you've placed, or whatever you've done, it's never enough because Watchtower always wants more. Because as we all know, Jehovah is code for Jehovah's Witness organization. It's the governing body. So when they say Jehovah, they're talking about Jehovah's organization. It's all code, and any member of the organization knows that's what that means. So they're just locking down the faithfulness to the organization, and God Almighty really is not a part of this. So anyway, do me a favor. I've put a ding on the first 6.5 minutes of this video so you can see how many times faithful is used or faithfulness. And count how many times they quote scripture, one verse, and say it means something that it doesn't mean, and or taken out of context from the chapter. Because you can take any verse out of context and make it look like it means something totally different than what the chapter actually is saying. Read the entire chapter. But count how many times you hear them use the word faithful, faithfulness, and how many times they quote scripture in this video. It is scary. And I'm only going to play part of this, but you can see the amount that it's shocking. And how they even use inanimate objects like Old Faithful to reinforce the faithfulness because you can guarantee it's going to erupt at a certain amount of time. So anyway, we're going to get back on this track here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring the bell. And I hope you like the content because this is my view of what I see in it, and sitting down and reviewing it and taking a really good look at where this is going. It's very obvious where Watchtower's heading. And the legal system moves like a snail. Watchtower doesn't have $5 billion to pay out like the Catholic Church did. So, 2 and 2 don't equal 4 here. So their days are numbered. 5 or 6 years from now, they're going to have to turn belly up, and that will be a divine day. That's when the sword forged will have all authority, because we all remember what they used to say. No sword forged will be victorious against us. They couldn't buy a victory in court nowadays. They lose at every turn. And it's because of their lying, because they can't be honest. They're incapable of being honest. It's not in them. So, and the courts see it, and they know now, especially with the Brumley case, they got documents. And they know that what to expect. When the Jehovah's Witnesses come into the courtroom, they know it's going to be lies. And that was a major, major blow to them. Whether the majority of people see it or not, that was a major blow. So anyway, guys, let's continue on. Have faith that I'll get through this.
Jehovah sets the perfect example for us in showing faithfulness. The thought of making faithfulness our way of life can also be illustrated in the example of the 3 Hebrew companions of Daniel. When they were young, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah set an excellent example of faithfulness in what some people may view as a small thing. Do you remember how they were pressured to eat unclean food? Apparently, their faithful parents must have instructed them to adhere strictly to the dietary restrictions found in the Mosaic Law. Jehovah considered these so important that after listing such restrictions, he stated the words recorded at Leviticus 11:45. You must be holy, because I am holy. The king of Babylon assigned the 3 Hebrew youths and other young men a daily ration from his delicacies, among which were foods forbidden by the law. The 3 Hebrews could have reasoned that the dietary restrictions of the Mosaic Law were not so important, at least not when compared to the 10 Commandments. But no, those faithful youths were concerned with living up to all features of God's law. They determined not to pollute themselves with such food and requested to eat vegetables. The matter of which tasted better was of no concern to them in this important decision. Daniel asked that they be permitted to try out this diet for 10 days. The result? At the end of the 10 days, Jehovah blessed those young men for their faithfulness. They looked better and healthier than any of the other youths. Was the choice of food a small thing? Not to Jehovah. It was of serious concern to him, and the young Hebrews had his view of the matter. Their faithfulness in what may have seemed a small thing prepared them for a bigger trial in the future. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah had already established a pattern of making faithfulness their way of life when King Nebuchadnezzar ordered them to bow before an image of gold on the plains of Dura. In faithfulness to Jehovah, they refused. And they made that decision despite knowing that it would result in their being thrown into a fiery furnace. As we read their words to the king, as recorded at Daniel 3:17 and 18, see if you can sense their faithfulness. If it must be, our God, whom we serve, is able to rescue us from the burning fiery furnace, O king, and to rescue us from your hand. But even if he does not, let it be known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold that you have set up. That courageous stand resulted in their being thrown into the furnace. But as we know, Jehovah rescued them. What an outstanding witness they provided not only to the king and his court, but also to all those who through the centuries have read about that account in the book of Daniel. The 3 Hebrews looked to Jehovah as their sovereign, and they proved themselves faithful in both large and small matters. Well, how can we imitate Jehovah and the 3 Hebrews so that we too can make faithfulness our way of life? Jesus' statement recorded at Luke 16:10 can help. He said, "The person faithful in what is least is faithful also in much." Those words, uttered almost 2,000 years ago, are still as true as ever. Now, it may be that you'll never be asked to take a stand that demonstrates what some might view as outstanding faithfulness, as was shown by the 3 Hebrews when they didn't bow down to the image. But your constancy in doing what is right, your reliability and dependability in small things, gives evidence of your deep appreciation for what it means to be faithful. Psalm 31:23 assures us that Jehovah protects the faithful. And this is true even when we're faithful in seemingly small matters. There are many areas of our lives in which we need to display faithfulness to Jehovah. For example, having a regular share in the ministry each month and reporting our participation. Faithfulness to our marriage mate is very important to Jehovah. How about showing our faithfulness by staying neutral with regard to the political and social conflicts of the world? Do we make faithfulness our way of life when it comes to our personal conduct each day? During a personal study session or family worship, why not consider how you can continue to be faithful in these areas? And what about you young ones? We're so proud of you when you prove your faithfulness to Jehovah. We know that many of you face tests of your faith that involve the pressure to engage in immorality and in other forms of bad behavior. It's one thing to know what to do or what choice you should make, but quite another to have the courage to do what is right when you're under pressure or temptation. The three Hebrews could have concluded that they could get away with eating the food God's law prohibited, since they were far away from their parents and friends. They could also have reasoned that it was the king's order, so they had no choice but to do what they were told. Besides, other youths may have readily accepted the food arrangements and viewed it as a privilege. But the Hebrew youths knew that, as mentioned at Proverbs 15:3, the eyes of Jehovah are everywhere. Those youths were determined to remain faithful. Young ones, if you learn to deal successfully with trials that some may view as small things, then you'll be able to face bigger tests of your faith. Never forget that the benefits of faithfulness far outweigh any temporary relief that comes from compromising. Let's consider one more area that involves faithfulness: our dress and grooming. How glad we were to learn in the 2024 Governing Body Update Number 2 of the adjustments to our standard of dress at theocratic events and in the ministry. We commend you, brothers and sisters, for wanting to dress and be groomed in a dignified way on those occasions. But how can we show our faithfulness in our selection of clothing during our leisure time, when on vacation, or when at social gatherings with our fellow Christians? 1 Timothy 2:9 and 10 admonishes our Christian sisters to adorn themselves in appropriate dress, with modesty and soundness of mind, in the way that is proper for women professing devotion to God. Of course, the principle of modesty applies to Christian brothers too. Also, 2 Corinthians 6:3 and 4 states that in no way are we giving any cause for stumbling, so that no fault may be found with our ministry. But in every way we recommend ourselves as God's ministers. In every way includes our choice of dress and grooming. An article entitled, "Are You Faithful in All Things?" in the July 15, 2005 issue of the Watchtower states this: "Our dress needs to be practical and presentable. This serves as a witness to others who observe us. In fact, we should always be appropriately attired. To some, faithfulness in the choice of clothing may seem to be a small matter, but in God's eyes, it is important." We should remember this when it comes to our choice of dress and grooming. Well, what will you remember from this consideration? Most of us admire faithfulness in creation. However, we especially appreciate people who have made faithfulness their way of life. We have outstanding examples of faithfulness recorded in the Bible that we can imitate, such as Jehovah, the three Hebrews, and many others. The principle found at Luke 16:10 can help us to be faithful not only in large matters, but also in what some may regard as small matters. Brothers and sisters, we encourage you to continue to prove your faithfulness to Jehovah. As noted at Proverbs 28:20, a faithful man will receive many blessings. Of course, our main reason for being faithful is not because of what we get out of it, but because of our love for Jehovah. And we can be sure that Jehovah will continue to bless us richly if we make faithfulness our way of life.
Okay, everybody. Have you been catching on to what's actually happening here? It's scary and comical at the same time. They use the three Hebrews refusing to eat the food. They'd mentioned the word faithful. I lost track. It's so many times that it's just shocking. They talk about faithfulness to Jehovah, which is the organization. And above, be faithful above riches, be faithful above your diet, in order to say, no matter what people say, what people are doing, what you see on the TV, they're using food as a metaphor, as whatever is the situation, always be faithful to Jehovah's organization. That's the message here. And then they start talking about the dress. They talk about the young ones. Like I said before, the young ones are massively leaving the organization. And they don't have the membership they once had. So they're trying to lock down those members, but I've got news for them. It's not going to happen in today's society. Young people have the internet. Young people have a way of investigating things, and they're going to be exposed. It's destroying them at a rapid rate, and they're doing it to themselves because all their lies, all their deceit, which is what they're built on lies and deceit, is being exposed. If you follow Jehovah's Witnesses and you follow the governing body, then you follow a massive amount of lies and deceit. It's very easily proven, very obvious. And when people hate being lied to, and when they find it out, they're gone. And that's why a lot of the young ones are leaving. And without the young, they know that their days are gone. But, besides that, with the lawsuits coming, their days are gone anyway. But they're hoping they can build some type of image. Start dressing better when you're out and about in service, or when you're out, dress more appropriately. Start talking to the young, even though you don't have to wear a skirt to the Kingdom Hall now. You can wear dress slacks. But, moderate dress that looks nice and appropriate. Just these people. It's not rocket science to catch on to what they're doing. But the amount of scriptures they quote to try to, they're always trying to shock people, fear them, get them feared into something, or try to say, well, this says that. And they'll argue to the end of the earth on one scripture, knowing that that whole chapter is saying something different and wrong from what their interpretation is. Witnesses will argue the horns off of a billy goat on it, swearing they're right. And a lot of people say, yeah, you're right, because I don't want to argue with them, and walk off laughing at them. And they think, yeah, I told him, ha ha. And they look like they're idiots. I don't know, guys. This type of stuff here is just, you couldn't write this in a science fiction novel. This is scary. And I really hope that people can see things like this and wake up, because it's just insanity. But there again, I hope you're still counting the times they say faithful, because I lost track. It's well over 100 now. That's pretty bad. So let's keep on here, and we're only going to do a little bit more of this because it's just the same old thing. They are going to introduce a new music video, which I can't play. Actually, the music was done fairly well. It reminded me of an artist I can't think of off the top of my head, but it seemed familiar, but it was slanted to them. But what they're doing is trying to reach the youth, and that's not going to happen with that. That would be my era of music, and I don't think you're going to get the youth too well. So anyway, Let's keep on and see what happens, guys. Away we go.
Jesus displayed unmatched faithfulness through all that he suffered. In our first segment, notice how his words and example helped Maria Fernanda, Matias, and Esteban during their darkest moments. If you're facing a hardship or trial, remember you're not alone. Never hesitate to ask for help. You too can count on Jehovah's loving support to endure and remain faithful. Jehovah's love moves us to help others come to know him. Offering a Bible study is one of the best ways to do this.
Okay, guys, I cut the part out with all the emotional talking and the unaliving situation that was talked about. The poor person who had cancer, the lady who was widowed and making jellies and jams and selling them with the help of other sisters in her congregation, and the young man with the infection, and they thought that they were going to have to give the blood transfusion too. Very sad situations that the Watchtower uses to manipulate people and play on emotion. But I cut that out because it's like, you don't need to watch a whole bunch of people being manipulated and telling a story to benefit Watchtower. If you want to see those, it's this month, July 2025. JW Broadcasting, you can go and watch them. It's just sad to think that those poor people went through these things and they're not even aware. They probably openly and willingly volunteered to give their stories to Watchtower, which is really sad. But Watchtower plays on those as a way to use and touch on your emotion to make you want to do more. So anyway, in order to, feel good and do what Jehovah expects and to feel good about yourself, offer others a Bible study. They're always pushing that. Go pioneer, give Bible studies. It's like they constantly push. And, ask yourself, ask people when is the last time they actually got someone to join the Jehovah's Witnesses that was not a family member? It's very rare, unless you're in a unique or ethnical situation where a group of people are starting to join and they get other people to join and you're part of that, getting them involved. Otherwise, it just doesn't happen. So, really kind of interesting that they brought that up. They said, oh, well, God, go have a Bible study. And Jehovah, they always mention Jehovah, meaning organization. It's always, everything is about the organization, 24/7. They ask for money constantly nowadays. They used to say, oh, we never ask for money. Every time you turn around, they're asking for money. You go to conventions, and I can firsthand tell you this, and the last several that I've been to, they make sure you know where to donate your money, where those credit card machines are located. And they make definitely sure that you know exactly a few different times during the day where you can go find those. As if you didn't already know when you walk in. But they want to reiterate that fact so you'll maybe give more. I don't know. It's ridiculous. But anyway, we're going to keep on with this. This has actually been so far very educational. Still keeping on with that word faithful they keep mentioning, because the reason they're doing this, faithful means faithful to the governing body, faithful to Jehovah's organization, faithful to Watchtower. That's the whole point of this video. And, they keep mentioning faithful over and over and over and over. And it really is a type of coercive persuasion. It's all it is. They're coercing you into, if they say it enough that you'll try to follow blindly and you'll be a faithful follower. It's really sad to think they do things like that, but that's the reality. And coercive persuasion is brainwashing, in case anybody didn't know. It's just a nice way to say brainwashing. It's just if you repeat something over and over enough and continue to repeat it over and over and over and over, and you're playing with someone's faith who wants to do what they feel is right, and they follow this, and you say it enough to where they are following it just blindly, then what happens is they're persuaded into doing the will of Watchtower. And that's where you see this going. They're just wanting you to follow them blindly, no matter what. So, anyway, guys, we're going to keep on. And let's see what else this crazy video has to say. And I'm just going to cut a lot of this out, but if you go through and count the amount of times they say faithful, I know it has to be 1,000 times in this one video. It's crazy. But we're going to cut a bunch down and continue on. Here we go.
Sometimes, though, we may feel unsure or uncomfortable. In this episode of Iron Sharpens Iron, we'll learn how to offer a Bible study with confidence.
Hello, I'm Byung-chul Lim. Welcome to Iron Sharpens Iron. Have you ever had this experience? You share the truth with someone and you can see that it touches their heart. It's the best feeling, isn't it? And it makes you want to take the initiative to offer them a Bible study. After all, we love God and people. But at times we may hesitate to offer a study. We might worry about seeming pushy or being rejected. So, what can we do to effectively offer a Bible study?
Hi, you're out for exercise again today. You're really diligent.
I've got to do at least this much to stay healthy. But hey, look at this news. I said so a few months ago, didn't I? Why is the world such a mess?
True, but don't you think the world will get better someday? What do you think? Can the world's problems be solved by people's efforts?
If anything, it'll get worse. What can people do?
Well, if people are powerless, do you think there's another way?
Another way? Doesn't seem likely.
Our brother did an excellent job. He showed personal interest, was a good listener, and asked appropriate questions. But can you guess what he did next? He offered a brief, silent prayer to Jehovah for help. When offering a Bible study, prayer is the first step. Even if the fear of rejection makes you hesitate, if you pray for courage as Philippians 2:13 tells us to do, Jehovah will give you both the desire and the power to act, and will bless your efforts. So even if you feel hesitant to speak up, don't give up. Pause, pray, and turn your thoughts into actions.
Actually, the Bible tells us about the solution. Here, let me show you.
Under God's kingdom, peace will abound. God's kingdom. Sounds like a possible solution. But now, I've got a lot of questions.
Right. I had a lot of questions too. But I found the answers by studying the Bible. It's the best way, really.
Studying the Bible?
Yes.
Some people might think a Bible study involves attending classes with many others or taking exams. How can we avoid this misunderstanding? This is the second step. Demonstrate how a Bible study is conducted. Showing them this video from the Teaching Toolbox in JW Library not only answers frequently asked questions about Bible studies, but is also one of the best ways to help them want to study the Bible.
You also studied the Bible like this?
Yes, I really enjoyed studying the Bible.
Video said the future becomes brighter if you study the Bible. So, how does it become brighter?
Like this.
Enjoy life forever?
You can watch the video together and then show them the back cover of the Enjoy Life Forever brochure. If they respond positively, you can build their anticipation by moving on to the third step. This involves finding out what they are interested in. To do this, show them page 15 of the brochure and ask them to choose a topic that interests them.
This one. How to find real peace.
Yes, peace is really important. Then how about we explore this topic together for our first Bible study?
Sounds good.
What time works for you?
The brother did an excellent job of starting a Bible study. So, let us review. To offer a Bible study, there are 3 steps. The first is prayer. You might feel hesitant about offering a Bible study, but Jehovah can give you both the desire and the power to do so. The second is to demonstrate how a Bible study is conducted. We have effective tools that help us to do this. For example, you can use the What Happens at a Bible Study video and the Enjoy Life Forever brochure. The third is to find out the other person's interests. Use page 15 of the brochure to find out which topics interest them. But remember that more important than any method or technique is showing genuine love for God and people, just as Jesus did. This will no doubt help you to achieve your goal of making disciples. After what we've explored together today, I feel motivated to go out and start a Bible study. I hope you also feel the same way.
What practical suggestions! Let's look for ways to apply them in our daily interactions with people. When we stay alert in our conversations, we'll find opportunities to offer Bible studies. More than ever, people urgently need to learn about Jehovah and His purpose for mankind. The knowledge they gain can truly transform their lives.
Okay, I feel like I just got through watching a bad kung fu movie. Like the trailer for one. Anyway, just here we go again with them forcing the Bible study constantly that does absolutely nothing. We live in a day and age of information, so everything that was in the dark is now in the light. So every single thing about Jehovah's Witnesses is exposed. All it takes is a quick search on the internet and people know everything they want to know about Jehovah's Witnesses. Not only this channel, which is a new channel and growing fast, but there are thousands of channels now on YouTube and websites and lots of information. I mean, if you even want to buy an elder's manual, Shepherding Flock of God, you can sometimes find them quite pricey, but you can find them on eBay occasionally. So there's nothing in it. I saw one that was auctioned off. It had all the updates stuffed in it. It's just like, there's nothing they can do anymore. Everything's exposed. It's out in the open. If you got the money to buy it and you want it, you can get one. So every single thing about the Jehovah's Witnesses is now, like it says, everything done in the dark will come to light, and it has. And now they're going to start pushing Bible studies, and they're just hoping to get the naive, the uneducated, the people who don't have the will to go search for information. And that's the people they'll target. And their numbers continue to dwindle. They're a shell of the organization they were 5 years ago. So, and there again, the lawsuits are coming, and they're trying to play damage control. But, the Catholic Church, wealthiest church there is, second wealthiest in the United States, next to Latter-day Saints. Jehovah's Witnesses are not very wealthy organization. And it sounds that way to some people, but a normal person would think a few $1 billion is a lot. But in today's society, 2 or 3 billion is not a whole lot of money to an organization. It's a lot to an individual, but an organization that's facing billions of dollars in lawsuits. When you got more cases of CSA than the Catholic Church, your days are numbered. And the Catholic Church spent $5 billion. You can look it up. $5 billion they spent in just 2 years. And that was not a lot to them, but that's a lot to Jehovah's Witnesses. So it would devastate them. It would be over. And so they know that those writings are on the wall. Hopefully they can try to salvage something. They're going to force the Bible studies, I guess, back to the pioneering, but don't count time, because you'll get more work out of somebody if you don't have to count time. And they figured that out too. Just make them feel guilty about not going out and getting new members. Works amazingly. So anyway, we're going to keep on with this. We're about to wrap up here just a little bit more, and you'll see all of the craziness that goes on within this organization. It's not hid. It's right there in the open. So let's just watch through and see what happens, guys. Here we go.
So people of integrity are quick to own up to their own mistakes and accept correction.
Okay, finally something I agree with. People of integrity are quick to own up to their own mistakes and apologize. That's what people of integrity do. Don't have a problem with that. But if you're the governing body, they don't owe nobody an apology for nothing. They don't owe you nothing. If they get it wrong, so what? If they make mistakes, so what? They don't have to own up to nothing, so they have no integrity. That's pretty simple, blunt, to the point. It's very true. The governing body has no integrity. They get it wrong more than they get it right, and the ones that they get right's just luck of the draw. They're not inspired. They're fallible. So if they're uninspired and they're fallible, they have nothing. I don't know why they think they have divine guidance, because just out of their own words, they have no divine guidance. Pretty interesting. This is, this video, that's the only thing so far I've saw that I agreed with. So, well, I guess we're going to keep on and see what else they got to say. Let's do it.
Can you sum up the story of Job in one sentence? Well, one Bible commentary does quite well by stating, "The beauty of the book of Job is of a living, breathing soul, encompassed by sorrows, surrounded by misunderstanding, but unconquered, humbled, and finally satisfied in God." Through Job's life, we learn that no matter what trials we may encounter, having a close relationship with Jehovah and staying true to our core values will enable us to maintain our integrity, and that when we are tested, God will support us just as he did Job. Psalm 84:11 says, "Jehovah will not hold back anything good from those walking in integrity." When we show our complete, wholehearted devotion to God by obeying him and doing what is right in his eyes in our everyday lives, even when facing hardships, we will surely make Jehovah happy and frustrate his enemy, Satan, just as Job did so long ago.
Like Job, you young ones have many opportunities to show your devotion to God through the choices you make. Our new music video, The Road to Life, will strengthen your conviction to stay close to Jehovah. We've enjoyed a faith-strengthening program. We learned how to find comfort despite severe tests of faith, how husbands and wives gain continuous peace by faithfully reading God's Word, how everyday conversations may lead to Bible studies, and how studying the Bible can be life-changing, giving people hope.
Okay, in conclusion of this month's JW Broadcasting, it seems that it's a coercive persuasion, that it is full of giving up your critical thinking skills to follow blindly what they say, to start more Bible studies, to be faithful to Jehovah's organization. How many times did they say faithful? Did anybody count them? It's amazing. This, and the stories they told to play on your emotions. Oh man, I mean, this thing here is full of it. Now, I didn't do the postcard of the Samoan Islands at the very end. Took that off because it was kind of, I don't know, didn't really serve a purpose. I don't get it. But anyway, this one here was really a put your blind faith in Jehovah's organization. Put your faith in the faithful, discreet slave. People who are uninspired and fallible, who are just men, who are not guided by Jehovah and Jesus Christ. And they could say it, but if they were, then that means they would be inspired and infallible. So, anyway, you have it here. Next month, we're going to do this again. And we'll see how crazy it is next time. Don't forget to look very soon for the one coming out for the convention. That's going to be very interesting. We'll show you guys how few people are actually attending the conventions now. And probably going to do one of a Kingdom Hall, and you'll get to see how few people are actually in a Kingdom Hall that was once packed. Even the second school room was packed. So now it's maybe on a good day, 40 people tops. And that's really pushing it. I mean, most of the time it's like 20 people. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you guys. If you made it this far into the video, don't forget, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and if you like this video, buy us a cup of coffee. A cup of coffee goes a long way. Deeply appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Peace and love.